Hey guys, welcome to Adilicious and I'm Aditi. This week I'll be showing you this super delicious, super soft and super easy to make red velvet cake. And for all those who ask me for more eggless recipes, this one sure is a keeper. Even if you don't mind using eggs, I'm sure you'll love this recipe. Before we begin, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it to get notified whenever a delicious recipe comes out. So let's begin. In a bowl, sift together the dry ingredients, that is the all-purpose flour, the cocoa powder, the baking soda, salt. Sift it together to remove any lumps of all-purpose flour or the cocoa powder. Now to the dry ingredients, add in the granulated sugar and give it a good whisk till everything is nicely mixed through. Time to add in the wet ingredients to the dry mix, that is the buttermilk, the vegetable oil, vanilla and red food coloring. You can use liquid food color also, but you might need a little more than gel. Gently stir it with a whisk to make a smooth batter, but don't overmix. This is such an easy one bowl recipe, I'm sure you'll love it. You can find the full recipe in the description box below. Finish the mixing with the spatula to make sure no flour is left behind. Add in the vinegar and give it one last mix. And this is the consistency of the batter you're looking for. Time to bake. I'm using 3 6-inch pans to bake individual layers, but you can use one 7 or 8-inch pan and divide it into layers later on. I have lined the bottoms of my pan with some oil and parchment paper. Divide the cake batter evenly among the 3 pans. This recipe will give you around 230 grams of batter in each of the molds. Tap each mold a couple of times on the bench to remove any air bubbles. Now bake these in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 12 to 15 minutes or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Let the cake cool down for 10 minutes in the pan and then run a knife around the edges and tip the cake out onto a wire rack and let them cool completely before we start frosting. Once the cakes have cooled completely, you can trim the top a little with a serrated knife to even out the layers. This is optional since it's a pretty flat cake. I'm using my perfectly pipeable cream cheese frosting recipe to frost the cake. I have a full video where I show you step by step of how you can make it. You can find the link in the info cards or in the description box below. Place one of the cake layers on a cake board. I have placed the frosting in a piping bag so that I can easily ice the cake without too many crumbs in the frosting. Pipe out some of the frosting on the cake in a spiral like this and then with a palette knife spread it out to even it out. Place another cake layer on top, making sure it's aligned with the bottom layer, and repeat the same. If you want, you can soak the cake in simple syrup if you have to store the cake for longer, but it's a pretty moist cake by itself, so I didn't soak it. Flip the last layer so that the bottom is on the top so that you get a flat surface on top. Pipe the frosting in the gaps between each layer and smooth it out with the palette knife. Add more frosting to the entire cake to give the cake a crumb coat so that we don't get any cake crumbs in our final frosting. Once the cake is crumb coated, pop it in the fridge for 30 minutes for the crumb coat to set. Once you touch the frosting, it should not stick to your finger. For the final coat of frosting, place a big dollop of frosting on top of the cake and spread it around with a palette knife. And then adding frosting to the sides. Add more frosting than you think you need because we'll eventually scrape off the excess with a Brent scraper. Keep on adding frosting to the sides until the sides are fully covered, and then using a bent scraper place flush against the side of the cake, turn the cake table gently, scraping off the excess frosting. If you don't have a turntable, you can rotate the cake board with one hand and hold the scraper in another. Wherever you see the frosting is not even, add more with the palette knife and again smooth with the bent scraper. Do this until you are happy with the sides. To smooth out the top, drag the lip of frosting inwards with the palette knife from all the sides and then run the bent scraper once at the top. Clean the cake board and chill the cake before you start decorating. I am keeping it very simple by using some heart sprinkles placed randomly on the cake, but you can do anything your heart desires. And our beautiful cake is all ready. It is such a tender cake, and with that cream cheese frosting, it just tastes heavenly. I hope you give this recipe a try, and if you do, don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section below, or you can share a picture with me on my Facebook or my Instagram. Links to both are in the description box below. I'll see you with a delicious new recipe next week. Until then, bye bye.